guys, and welcome to the second episode of 1 Minute News from 1 Minute Economics, where I share my views as an economist on the most important current events. First of all, I'd like to celebrate the fact that the 1 Minute Economics channel just surpassed 8,000 subscribers yesterday, and we're getting really close to 100,000 unique monthly views, which, for a channel which is just my little corner of an internet where I present niche content to you guys, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal, especially since I'm not really doing anything to promote the channel right now. So thanks a lot. I know some of you guys are telling your friends on Facebook, your friends in real life perhaps as well, about the channel. Please keep doing that, because it's what ultimately helps this channel, and you guys, you don't even realize how important it is for the channel. If, every once in a while you share some of my videos on Facebook, if you tell people you think the channel is good and so on, this is the kind of stuff which makes or breaks a channel, and thanks a lot for your support. Also, speaking of support, you guys have provided great feedback on last week's video and have mentioned that you would be interested in seeing me cover more detailed aspects as well. And therefore, as of this week, here's how it's going to work. For each piece of news, I'm going to start by dedicating 1 minute to presenting it in general, referring to the basics, and then I'm going to dedicate another minute to a more in-depth analysis. So that being stated, I think we can get started. I have chosen 2 current events for this week, and the first one is the results of the first round of elections in France. So let's start by addressing them generally speaking, and it kind of worked like this. You had 4 candidates with realistic chances of making it to the second round, which is going to take place soon, and out of them, the leader was Emmanuel Macron with 24%, sorry if I'm not pronouncing the names properly, followed by Marine Le Pen with 21.3%. The 2 runner-ups were François Fillon, the mainstream conservative, with about 20%, followed by Mélenchon, the far left candidate, with 19.6%. I think the most important lesson we've learned is the fact that out of all candidates, the 2 that made it to the final round have been non-mainstream candidates. I think it's for the first time in history when none of the 2 strong political parties of France are represented in the second round. The conservative François Fillon was close but didn't make it, whereas the socialist barely got 6.4%, so it was a downright disaster for him. I think the political class in France need to understand that people want change, and as a result, both of the 2 candidates that made it to the next round were non-mainstream candidates. On the one hand, we have Emmanuel Macron, who is a moderate non-mainstream candidate, and on the other hand, we have Marine Le Pen, who is a non-mainstream candidate with more extreme views. Moving on to a more detailed analysis, I've shared a graph which shows the distribution of the voters based on income. And it's something obvious that we can easily notice, the fact that out of the 2 candidates, Marine Le Pen is the clear favorite of people who are on the lower end of the wage distribution, whereas Macron is the clear favorite among people who are high earners. Now, moving on, I have a more detailed graph which shows, the preferences of the 2 candidates in terms of policy, and Marine Le Pen is, without a doubt, a protectionist candidate. Her platform mainly revolved around the idea of limiting the access of immigrants to France, to the French labor market, leaving the common currency, so leaving the euro, and even leaving the common border system called Schengen. She definitely has views one could consider extreme, and she also has policies on the populist end, like, for example, lowering the retirement age to 60 if you've contributed for enough time. I think it's 40 years. Macron, on the other hand, is, I would say, a reformist candidate who obviously does well with more affluent voters because his tax plans revolve around tax cuts, tax reform, lowering the payroll tax so that people are left with more money in their pockets and so on. And also, he is focused on administrative reform as well, focusing on, having less employees in the French public sector. And I, for one, believe that his policies are something France desperately needs. If there's any country in Europe that desperately needs lower taxes on the one hand and a less overweight state, I would say that France is the country in question for sure. Let's move on to the second event I want to cover this week, which is Trump's proposed tax reform. Now, his plans are very aggressive, but on the other hand, not that much has been provided in the way of details. So please bear with me and understand that I am just working with what we have so far, which isn't much. Still, let's get started with some general aspects. And as you can see in the detailed image next to me, we're talking about meaningful, fundamental changes, like, for example, I think the one that stands out the most is lowering the corporate tax rate from a high of 39% all the way down to 15%. The same way the capital gains tax is going to be lowered from a high of 28% to not more than 20%. The standard deduction is going to be pretty much doubled. So a married couple is going to go from a top of $12,600 all the way to $24,000, which is quite significant. And also, we're looking at things like the elimination of the estate tax. Again, these are things that are going to dramatically change the system, but of course, they come with costs as well. On the opposite end, changes which are supposed to lower the cost burden to the United States, we have an intention of eliminating certain tax benefits, especially benefits for the very rich of the United States, and also the fact that all deductions, except of course mortgage deductions and charitable deductions, are gonna be eliminated. So generally speaking, what you see here is pretty much what we have right now in terms of information. Moving on to a more detailed analysis, you can check out the image next to me, which is basically a study on the 2027 debt impact of these policies as estimated by the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. Please, again, keep in mind that right now we only have a rough draft. We don't have all that much data at our disposal. We don't even know what the numbers are for the three tax brackets that we're going to have in Trump's new system and so on. We don't know much. The CRFB doesn't know much either, so please treat what you're seeing here as nothing more than rough estimates, which are supposed to give you, an overall idea as to what's going to happen. And the first reaction you're going to have by watching this is obviously the fact that the costs in terms of debt, based on these numbers, they do seem to outweigh the benefits. Now, of course, it's always hard to estimate in this manner because Trump's team is counting on the fact that the tax relaxation is going to generate economic growth, and it's always hard to estimate just what kind of an effect something like that would have. But still, we have dramatic measures, like, for example, the fact that the corporate tax rate is going to be cut to 15%, which is going to have an impact in terms of debt in these estimates of $2.2 trillion by 2027. And again, the fact that the standard deduction is going to be doubled. There we have it, an impact of $1.5 trillion. Now, it is true that we have measures which are going to have, let's say, a positive impact in terms of that as well, like, for example, eliminating the loopholes which are supposed to make, if you will, the most wealthy Americans pay a bit more in taxes. Also, the fact that a lot of deductions have been eliminated. We do have a significant benefit of about $2 trillion, but still, after drawing the line, we are left with roughly a cost of $5.5 trillion when it comes to the debt of the United States. So for this kind of a plan to work, then the economy would need to be seriously jump-started by then, because something as dramatic as this can only end up working well in the real world if their best case scenario materializes. But I'm going to be analyzing this stuff more as I receive more information, and I'm going to keep you updated. That's it for today, guys. Please, as always, be active in the community, like my videos, comment, subscribe to 1 Minute Economics if you're not yet a subscriber, and most importantly, if you can, please tell others about this YouTube channel, because ultimately everything is possible thanks to you guys, and please keep being awesome. Those of you who want to support the channel financially as well can head on over to 1minuteeconomics.com, where you can find more info on how to do that by buying my book, by making a PayPal or Bitcoin donation, and so on. Again, head on over to 1minuteeconomics.com for more information. Thank you for everything, guys, and have an awesome week.